fix up the thing. All right, now let me just on YouTube. Let me just double check it's working properly. Because last time I was on with Andrew, the screen was funny. Oh, yeah, that works. All right, so we are here with we've got our very no, let me start again. All right, here we are. Welcome, guys. We are doing our Auroran Lion podcast, which is our awesome podcast that we always do each week. We try to get to each week as well. We had our legendary chairman on last week, which was Andrew Wellington, ahead of the Eagles game. Obviously, we had the Eagles game in Perth. And then now we have got just had Paul coming up to Carlton. We've got our legendary, one of our WA fans as well too. He's
Don't think
always
I'm
around the
recommended.
place. I actually sat behind him 3 rows from the grand final, very close as well too. We spoke about him last week when he sent questions through to Andrew. Is Aleck Arena? How are you?
Yeah, I'm pretty good, mate. I'm interested to talk about football today, and yeah, I think there's a lot of hot topics to cover, and yeah, I think there might be a few other interesting topics of conversation just about the team going forward into next year as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think there'll be definitely, especially in like you said, those are definitely a hot topics, especially with Gallup and a few other things as well too. So we'll get into that a bit later. As an umpire myself, I can't say too much things, but I will get the law book out. I've got that out to talk about that. So conflict of interest here.
Very
Um,
professional, mate.
yeah, got to be professional. And then and then also we can talk about our Eagles game we had here, which was actually pretty decent. We kicked a few points, but we managed to do what we had to do. Like obviously, it would have been nice a bit of percentage booster, but obviously flying to WA, it's a bit of long trip. What do you think of the Eagles game? Because it was good to see you at the members function as well too.
Yeah, I thought the Eagles game was good. I thought the Eagles got off to a really hot start, which is clearly what the team didn't want. Obviously, Andrew spoke to Harris before the day before the game. And yeah, ideally, it's what the Lions didn't want. So, yeah, I think they really switched back into a zone that they were playing like 2 to 3 years ago, and just tried to slingshot the Eagles out in transition to score. So I think they were kind of very defensive and sitting back because clearly what they brought to the game wasn't working in the first quarter. So I think there was like a major strategy shift at quarter time, and then obviously the Lions kind of uh, they grinded kind of back into the match, and then obviously got a bit of control, and that's just kind of how the game went. It was probably one of the more boring games this year, if I'm being honest, but it was always good to be at the football and watching the Lions. Yeah, I don't know. I was watching all types of different things. I was interchanges and who was going where, and yeah, all that type of stuff. And yeah, it was pretty interesting. I thought the matchup with Zach Bailey and Brandon Starcevich was extremely interesting. Or Cam Rayner, whoever he was on at the time, they were joking around behind play quite a bit. And yeah, I don't know. It was always interesting to see who was getting into him and who wasn't. Like there was a few things going on slightly off ball with Stars, and I think it's all like I think they get along with each other quite well, and it was funny to see them. And then obviously they all caught up after the game, so um, yeah, there's no, I wouldn't say there's bad blood between them, and yeah, it was good. The few of the boys caught up with Dev Robinson as well, um, and really unfortunate about his injury this year because I think he's a really good player that deserves to play AFL, as Andrew said last week. Yeah, that was my. I kind of did a long summary of the Brisbane game. What did you think of the members function, Reece?
Yeah, well, much better than the night before. um, yeah, yeah, the members function was all right actually. Ash McGrath obviously did the PG version of the story of the Miracle on Grass because obviously on the boat, if you're on the boat, you probably would have heard the more interesting story about it. But I thought it was actually pretty good. We managed to have some canopies as well too. Got to see the CEO, got to have the chairman there as well too. We had quite a few that turned up at the Canfield there as well too. Plus, it was nice central close by as well too because Sam Graham was asking me like what worked well with this year, what they can improve on next year as well too. And And what they said to me, well, what I said to them as well too, like the open training worked really well because they had like the whole crowd was quite full. Like I was probably the biggest turnout I've seen at a training for a while now, and to have that open, to have like a little members function. The only thing that they probably want to try and work on for next year is maybe like have like a current player to do like a little like a event, maybe like beforehand or after the game. Obviously not on game day, of course, um, but apart from that, I think it seemed to be a much more successful weekend here in Perth. I did feel that it was a bit more member and fan orientated this time, how the players seemed to sort of at least um, be there and also have the banner there as well too. So it was good to have people on the banner and also the cheer squad as well that got to run out
Yeah,
onto the Guard of Honour. So that was
I wasn't
actually pretty
lucky
good.
enough to get there, but yeah,
Well,
I don't know. Hopefully, we get there soon. For me personally.
yeah, I think on that, I think what they should do, what it used to be back in the day a few years ago, was when Brisbane used to do the banner, they would actually get me or Leah to sort of have a list, and we could write down members to pick, and then they could actually we could give the wristbands out. And the way that we did it was who's been a member for the longest or who's been a member first they had priority, obviously, because that was fair. Whereas I find this time around is more like a lottery where you could just put your name down and it just sort of like it's like a luck of the draw. So the way that Leah and we did it was sort of more like who's been a member for a while and who's that type thing.
I
So
think it's
uh,
hard to pick, so I don't. Yeah, I
yeah.
don't really have much of a comment on that. Do you want to talk about the Port Adelaide game?
Oh yes, yes. So yeah, that was a yes, perfect. And also, by the way, it was good to get the win. And shout out to Hugh McCluggage, by the way, at the end of the game of the Eagles game, because I did tell him at the airport, make sure you come up to the players at the up to the fans at the end. And so there was about 10 of the players that came and high fived the players. So I was behind the goals, but I think you might have been on the side, were you, or where were you
Yeah,
sitting?
I was on the side getting a good aerial view, but yeah, I don't know, interesting to take in the game from a different perspective. Obviously, in the cheer squad, you're kind of really in the thick of it. Yeah, kind of just with I don't know. We've had interesting things happen over the years with like Cam Rayner and Charlie Cameron, um, and you're trying to like just talk to not talk to the players behind the goals, but just obviously offer encouragement and all that. Sometimes there's
Yeah,
fan interaction. Sometimes the boys start talking to Freo or West Coast people, which we've had before. And then yeah, sometimes they're going above and beyond why they're playing. I remember one time Charlie Cameron was talking to a young Indigenous boy in the first row, and he was absolutely tearing Fremantle that day. And after the game, he plopped his boots over the fence, and it rained so badly that day. Brisbane won by 10 goals, and the ground was absolutely drenched. I remember him walking from one side of the field to the other, just in like puddles, just in his socks. And yeah, sometimes some really nice stuff like that happens. Yeah, so yeah, I don't know. It was interesting for the change of perspective because I I feel like when you're in the second tier, you're watching more of the game itself. Where you're behind the goals, you kind of miss parts of the game. Yeah,
yeah. Because when I was at the Gabba a few years ago for the Carlton Carlton Brisbane final when we were 60-0, that's when I was sort of sitting up at the second level, and I was actually sitting with, out of the whole crowd, I was sitting next to two players that Anthony Corrie coached as well too from their footy. So it was such a small world, but to see like that angle where you were sitting, like the compared to behind the goals, like you can definitely tell you can watch the game more clearly. But I
yeah,
suppose it's a bit more harder to interact with the players because a few times during the Eagles game, Jared Berry kept staring at me because I kept telling him a few things to do, and then he actually listened to what I said because at the first part, like they kept kicking to Logan Morris to the side, and it was so hard for Logan Morris to actually kick the goal because, like, I was on the boundary. I kept saying, "Bomb it into the square," and at least that way, Hitwood or Charlie Cameron can have a go at trying to get the ball. And then as soon as they started kicking to the square, that's when they started scoring again, which was because you're never going to score when you're on the side, if that makes sense. But like, if I was
yeah.
sitting
I
in
think
this,
it's
yeah,
their low percentage scoring shots. I think that that was part of the strategy change at quarter time and half time. Because like in that first quarter, Brisbane still had a lot of the ball. The Eagles had much better looks. The Eagles were getting out the back. So then Brisbane kind of became more defensive. Then when Brisbane got the ball, they were getting out the back on the Eagles. So like Kyle Lohman ran into an easy open goal. A few players did. Charlie Cameron, Logan Morris. They were higher quality looks. So yeah, I don't know. We weren't pumping the ball inside 50 as much, but we also weren't letting the Eagles get. They were pouncing on our turnovers and scoring at the back, and then it was like we were doing the opposite thing. It really flipped. So yeah, I think there was a clear strategy change there.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah,
are we getting?
and
Yeah.
yeah, we'll talk a bit about the Baker situation a bit later. Once we talk about Gallup, because I'll make a reference to with Baker as well later too. So
Okay.
uh, remind me for that. All right. So yes, so the Port Adelaide game, and then we went up to the Gabba, and then looked like we're back to our normal selves again, and we got our percentage booster, which we needed, the extra 3-4%, which was handy, and we ended up winning by about 59 points or 10 goals basically. And first half was pretty close. Like last week, Podley took it up to Fremantle for about 2 3 quarters, and
Yeah.
then it wasn't until the last quarter that's when we kicked 7 goals to 2. So broke it away again, kind of like the grand final last year when it was pretty close up to about 3/4 time. And so, what did you think of the Podley game?
Yeah, I don't think it was as much was riding on it like the grand final last year. But yeah, it was a similar feel. The scores were in a similar position. The scores ended in a similar position. I think was the grand final 36 apiece at half time, and then at full time we were 124 to 66, or I can't remember exactly. And I think it was
122 to like
126 to the
75,
fourth.
something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, so Brisbane pretty much just did the same thing. We really put the foot down late in the third quarter or early in the fourth quarter. Um, it was really pleasing to see. I think Port Adelaide they're a slightly better team than most people give them credit for. I think Fague said before the game that if you their on predicted score, Port Adelaide should have won 11 games this year, which is like double. I think they won 5 games. And usually when you play Port Adelaide, no one's really put them away, which was good to see that Brisbane were able to put a clear gap in the game. Obviously, Fremantle played them last week, and they were missing uh, Jason Horn-Francis and Mitch Georgianis, and Brisbane got to play them with those two players, and still beaten by quite a bit. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a person that like sits there and looks at percentage and does those types of things. So it's good if they can win the game. And yeah, hopefully the ladder would take care of itself. Um, yeah, it was really pleasing to see.
Yeah, because like you say, Polley's played Hawthorn, Sydney, Freo, and all those tough teams this year, and they've almost beat them, and they were pretty close to them as well for most of the game as well too. Especially the Sydney and Hawthorn game, they could have beaten as well too. So goes to show that, like you say, they they remind me of Brisbane. Remember when we were in the bottom four and we had that really big
2018.
percentage, and we were really close, yeah, and
Yeah.
we're probably the best bottom four team. It kind of reminds me of that. And it's crazy to think they're still bottom four, but they've been playing probably like a between an eighth and a 12th team type thing.
To be fair, the Eagles probably remind me more of that at the moment. I think that like they gave us more trouble last week than Port Adelaide did. Port Adelaide a bit more consistent, so I think they're an older and more mature group. And I don't think there's much talent to work with there at the moment. So because most of their star players are injured. So yeah, I think that the Eagles probably are more similar to that 2018 group because there's a lot of young kids coming through the Eagles lineup, and they have those tough nuts like Reece Matheson, Oliver Franco, Devin Robinson was obviously playing amazing for him before he got injured. Uh, I think Port Adelaide kind of remind me more of a team like St Kilda or like it's a traditional defensive style team where the Eagles are kind of like pride themselves on. They're probably in a similar, a worse version of what Carlton is at the moment now since that Carlton sacked Michael Voss because they're both amazing. They're really good contested ball teams. They're really good stoppage teams, and they're trying to kind of. It seems to me as a fan, they're making sure the game's been stripped back to the basics of like we're going to win the ball. and then we're going to get like try to get a clearance from there, and then they're a bit weaker in transition, and that's on transitioning on defense and transitioning on offense. But they're probably both slightly better at transitioning on defense because to stay in the games, they have to defend really well. But when they score, it looks like more of a grind compared to a Brisbane or Fremantle. You can see like Brisbane just like can score in a bunch. Like Brisbane can put like 5 to 7 goals on a team within like 10, 5 minutes. Fremantle can do the same thing. We saw it against the Swans in Perth a few weeks ago. Yeah, that's kind of I've gone off on a bit of a tangent there, but
Yeah,
that was my
it's,
thoughts.
it's kind of a little bit like the game yesterday, Port Adelaide, how it took Port Adelaide, say, like 3 or 4 minutes to get a goal, but then Brisbane would get a goal within a minute straight after. So, like when it was that goal for goal, it just seemed that, yeah, like Port Adelaide a bit more harder to get the goal. A bit like saying, yes, same with like that's pretty much the difference between like top eight and the bottom eight teams as well too. And like kind of like when we were back in the bottom eight, like it took us a while to finally get a goal, and then the other team would just get a goal straight away. Like um, it's just like the like you say, the grind and that to get the goal. Um,
If
yeah,
uh, okay, I was just looking at the tribunal stuff. If Port Adelaide would have scored though, Reece, it was gonna be created by Jason Horne-Francis usually, and Dunkley went to him and was trying to tag him, but he I have to say Dunkley doesn't get beaten much, but I feel like Dunkley was beaten on Sunday. Jason Horne-Francis is just an extremely talented player, and he was in the midfield creating most of their stuff forward of the ball. Without Jason Horne-Francis,
that's what I think.
I think it would have
That's what I
been
think.
like
Yeah,
18 points to 120.
yeah,
But so he's
yeah.
made like a 7, 8 goal difference there. Um, And obviously, Mitch Georgiani's helps a lot. He kind of wasn't converting on his opportunities as much, but he's a very good player as well. Um, yeah, there we
Because
go.
I wasn't quite sure who was actually on Jason Horn Francis because like usually, like you say, with Dunkley usually on top
No,
of the
it was
players and that,
Dunkley. Yeah,
and it kind of felt like Dunkley wasn't on him, or like it felt like no one was on him because he just was just like got it every
I
second you would
think
see him like having the ball.
I think that Dunkley was getting at centre bound or centre ball up. There was Dunkley and Horn Francis, and Horn Francis was probably a tiny bit too quick for Dunkley. I think that Jared Berry, usually they play the shut the gate where it's like your winger goes and follows. So your winger sacrifices his game and is effectively an extra defender. So it's like Dunkley will tag Jason Horn Francis and then Jared Berry will like sit kind of at the back side of stoppage or the front side, wherever Jason Horn Francis is, and look where he is and follow him out of the stoppage because he will burst quite quickly. And they've played that against Dacos and all types of teams, and usually it works all right. But yeah, I think probably they were both beaten. But I think how they were beaten, unfortunately, was that when there was a centre ball up, Horn Francis was able to break away from stoppage too fast, and obviously Berry's stuck on the wing. So if he's breaking away from stoppage, running into a forward 50, Dunkley's not fast enough to go with him. It doesn't really work. Where if you're doing a ball up anywhere in the field, it will work relatively well. Because Berry's
Yeah,
sitting on the back side of the stoppage, he's waiting for Horn Francis to run into his space so he can follow him, and Dunkley's around him at the actual stoppage. So it was Horn Francis was exploiting effectively like the biggest weakness in the Lions plan. And yeah, I don't know. I feel that that's probably something that most opposition teams will look at and try to get their star players to do. Obviously, we got Collingwood in a few weeks. So I'm assuming Craig McRae will be sitting there with Nick Dacos, showing him how they coded the Brisbane game, like how they reviewed the Brisbane game a few weeks prior, and if they reviewed it, it's not a final, so I'm not sure if they'll do it or not.
yeah,
But they'll probably like maybe they'll review it and go, Horn Francis was able to beat Dunkley and Berry by doing this. Just try to like full force break away from the centre ball up. It's so weird. I can't get to saying centre ball up. I'm so used to centre bounce. I'm so used to it. I guess yeah. It gets me every time. But yeah, they'll probably highlight Nick Dacos. I don't think Patrick Cripps. We're obviously playing Carlton this week. I don't think Patrick Cripps is that type of player. I think Dunkley will go to Cripps and Berry will do whatever Berry wants to do. He'll probably he's a really good defensive wing, but he can spread the ground as well. But I, it's maybe like more of a Sam Walsh, but he's had an okay season so far. I don't think he's been shooting the lights out. So I don't think it would be easy for Carlton to exploit what Jason Horne-Francis did.
Yeah, yeah. Well, hopefully they don't listen to what we just spoke about, so we don't want them to hear the weaknesses. But yeah, no. Um,
I reckon AFL coaches know a thing or two about football. I've spoken to a few before in my time, and
yeah,
especially when I was younger, I was just like blown away. I was kind of like confused how in depth they think about the game.
yeah, yeah. The and also the highlight I thought as well from the game is I actually last week when they played here in Perth against the Eagles, I at training actually introduced myself to Sam Draper for the first time. So um, it took a while to actually meet him for the. I said to him, "Well, welcome to the club and all that. Great to have you on." And it was great to almost had goal of the year the week before against Essendon when he took on 3 players and all that. And then he said to me that, "Oh, I'll try and get another goal of the year for you." And then um, the Eagles game, he was close to get a couple, but then in the Portland game, that kick from the he got it from the ruck, ran down, got a goal. I'd like say that was probably one of the in running for the goal of the year. I think this year as well too.
Yeah, that's crazy. I don't. I think it's like I've seen like Nick Natanui do stuff similar and kick a point before, but it's he's probably not as flashy as Nick Natanui and all that, but just to break away from the centre bounce and try to fend stuff off and launch it from 80 meters is insane.
And especially to control the ball, like to actually from the ruck tap, the only one to touch the ball for the whole passage, like that's even more credible as well too.
How far do you think he kicked it? Like to me, or he's probably kicked it 70 plus meters. It sailed into the first row. Yeah, I don't know. I think everyone was pretty happy with it. But then the next centre ball up, Port Adelaide got an easy goal. I think they were too worried about celebrating Reece, if I was being
Yeah,
honest. But it was
and
pretty
that,
impressive.
and that's what Chris said as well too. He says, "Oh well, they were really happy with the goal. They celebrated too much, and they got the goal straight away, straight afterwards." But yeah, no, it was definitely worth that. That was a crazy goal.
I
But
didn't
yeah,
realise Chris Fagan said that, Reece.
didn't
Oh,
you?
no, mate.
He, uh,
Yeah.
yeah, on the presser, he said, literally said, he says, "Oh, it was a great goal of the year. Like it was a great goal, but then they're too busy celebrating, and then they let a goal slip straight after." So it's exactly what you said.
Yeah, I
Yeah, so
personally like if I was, I could never be an AFL player, but if I was like Ryan Lester or someone like that, I would probably be a bit switched off, to be honest.
yeah,
I'd probably like, yeah, I would have needed a wake up call after that. I would have been like, to be in awe of what just happened because like for a 200 centimeter ruckman to do that, that doesn't happen every day. Like I touched on Nick
yeah,
Natanui and yeah, I don't know. I didn't watch Polly Farmer play, um, but it's part of the legend that we hear of Polly Farmer.
yeah, because I actually made a mistake because I did say Nick Nat got goal of the year the other week, 2 years ago, but it was actually the point of the year because he actually missed it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but it would have been the
Did he
goal of
hit
the
the
year if he kicked
post
the
or
goal.
just? I was there that day. I was on the wing at Subiaco Oval. I was like, is it Patterson Stadium? What was it called at the
Yeah,
time? Yeah, I
Patterson
was on the
Stadium
wing.
back then. Yeah.
It was against Carlton, wasn't it?
I don't know who it was against, but yeah,
I think it
he
was.
mentioned it
It
was
was
a point.
crazy.
Yeah, yeah,
It was
it
crazy.
would have been goal of the year for sure. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
I think he hand passed it over Yaron's head, so I was sure, but I could be so wrong. I might have just been another random player. That was crazy. It was like time stops, but the Draper one was. It was probably a little less impressive, but he actually kicked the goal. So
yeah,
yeah, I don't know.
and
That
especially
should
after
be goal of
Matthew,
the year.
and especially after Matthew Lloyd saying Ruckman can't kick, and then you and then you see James Hird this week saying, "Oh, it didn't sail through properly. I didn't kick it properly, but he kicked the goal, so it doesn't matter how he kicked it as long
I
as he
think
got
what
the
they
goal."
were talking about was a bit different, but I think they're more talking about like Ruckman can't kick in I don't know, Draper can launch the ball, but he's field kicking. Most ruckmen can't really do field kicking. Obviously, Lou Jackson can do it, but that's kind of an anomaly.
Yeah,
And then a lot of their set shots are like, oh, they just like the ball drops like great, like it's
yeah,
yeah, whatever. Like it's yeah, it's not a great ball drop. It's not a great set shot. There's a lot of things that you could probably critique in their ball drop, and I think that's what Matthew Lloyd's talking about a bit because I remember when we were kids, he would like his set shot routine was uh it was automatic nearly, but he just the routine and the fine things he had to do was it
yeah,
was down to it was a really fine art.
yeah. And you had to pick up the grass and all that as well too. So,
Yeah,
and I would always find it funny because I watched him play as well too, and like it was at Marvel Stadium, and like he would throw the grass up, but then obviously there's no wind at
no
Marvel
wind.
Stadium, and it's so,
Yeah,
so, so,
he was that. It was that down to a fine art that he would
yeah.
do it even if he knew there was going to be no wind. It was just he had to do it. It was a creature of habit by then.
It's a bit like you see Jeremy Cameron. He always like pushes the ball every time he goes for a kick. You always see him like push the ball and that like
Push the ball
yeah,
in. I usually find it's
no,
at the start of games for him because he's trying to like flush it because they're a bit pointy at the start of the game. But yeah, I maybe if it's a fresh footy in the fourth quarter, he usually like pushes the ball in. But yeah, I think he's onto something there, Reece. To be honest, I think if
yeah,
you're kicking with a more pointy footy, I think you can it's a lot easier to spray. Wherever it's more rounded, I find it easy to kick. But mate, I was pretty much not even a high school footballer domestically, so I shouldn't be
yeah.
critiquing people kicking a ball.
Yeah, don't worry. Last time I played footy was late '90s anyway, and we like the other night at umpire training, I actually had to be like a player, and I was like, "Jeepers!" Like the last time I played footy was so long ago, like, and so I just did some I did some basic things to try and give away obvious free kicks, so that way our junior umpires can pick up what I'm trying to give away. Like I was trying to do like 50s and not standing properly and all that because I was like doing the safe runs. I didn't want to get tackled or anything, so um, I just did the safe safe thing. So, um, but yeah, the which talking about umpiring, well, we can talk a bit about. Not sure if you heard in the news or anything like this, but it's quite maybe someone may have mentioned about this, but there was an incident on the weekend about a player called Ty Gallett. Um,
Yeah.
now, I'm not sure if you've seen this incident because no one's talked about it yet, have they?
Yeah, no, we're breaking news here. I was trying to look for updates, but if you wanna run us through the actual rules and the technicality and all that, of it, the tribunal's still deliberating. They're deciding if he's going to get 2 or 3 weeks. But yeah, go ahead, Reece, because I was interested. I know me and Andrew felt like it was a bit unjust because the act is a really bad act. I think it probably needs to be stamped out of it needs to be stamped out of the game so we don't get kids doing stuff like this because it's not okay to do this stuff in society in general public. I was disgruntled as a fan because I've seen a lot of players pick up other players and once you've laid a successful tackle, you push the player back into the ground. Obviously, Ty slightly elevated him and picked him up and pushed him back into the ground. Um, it's probably a bit out of character for Ty. I don't know him personally. I I don't know. His mates probably aren't a reflection on him. But yeah, I don't know. He's a 20-year-old kid, and there might be if you never know what's happening in someone's personal life or anything like that. I'm not trying to make excuses for him because it was a bad act. I was just trying to highlight that there's actually like a human, and um, he's not going around the street doing that to any random people. So so I think he
Yeah,
clearly knows it's wrong. Um, yeah, so I was a bit frustrated because I felt like if you were to put it in the matrix like we usually do, that it's low impact because the player hasn't been hurt. Usually, for a player to for it to be graded high impact, the player has some form of injury. They use that as evidence. So yeah, I believed it was careless, intentional, and low impact. But I don't. The justification for like low to high impact is complete and utter. Like it's not correct. If you get what I mean, there, he's like
Yeah.
you could if someone's face was made of steel, you could like king hit them, and if their face was like made of steel, it would be low impact because your the person didn't get hurt. But then if you put that much force into a normal person, you punched them, it would be high impact. So like I don't really understand how you're measuring force. You're measuring force based off outcome. I do think that's a stupid system. But then I don't like if the AFL's chosen to use that methodology to suspend someone. I think throughout the entire, you can't just change that at round 20. It needs to be consistent. And obviously, they're trying to say that it was an intentional kind of premeditated attack, which I don't really think it is. But I'm happy to listen to you speak about like the laws of the game, and yeah, kind of where they're trying to bunch it. Yeah, so interested to hear your take, Reece.
Yeah, so the way I'm gonna talk about, I'm gonna have to say Brisbane fan and umpire as well too, because it's like
No, just
it's yeah, because
take
yeah,
your Brisbane hat off, but maybe leave it on because you're having a bad hair
yeah,
day.
take it.
Yeah,
You see my hair, but
yeah. I would be interested as an
yeah,
umpire's opinion because obviously, like,
yeah,
there's a lot of experience umpiring.
yeah,
Yeah, so I'd be interested.
yeah. So, well, first of all, I will talk about me as a Lions fan first, and then I'll get into the umpire side of things. So, um, like I find the MRO is a bit frustrating at times, because you notice throughout the season as well too. Obviously, Ty Gallop. I said you asked me how many weeks do you reckon he's going to get. I said about 2 to 4 weeks. He's looking at maybe 3 weeks, so I'm pretty right on spot with that. But uh, the thing is that yes, they want to stamp out head high and concussion issues as well too, because what's going on with everything,
Yeah,
especially the last uh, few years as well too. Obviously, the like what happened with Brayshaw as well a few years ago and other players. But we've also noticed how this year, like for example, like you're talking about injuring as well too. Darcy Gardner hasn't faced the MRO for 8 years. He got 1 week for barely anything, but then Liam Ryan got off for injuring him. That was like a football act, but like if
I
you're going on
think that
outcomes based, then
Darcy
he was out
Gardner's was a
injured.
little late
Um, you
for
also
my
look
money.
at Baker. I was chatting to a Richmond supporter, and he reckons that Baker should have got at least 2 or 3 weeks because he clearly went for the head after the incident, after the mark as well too, which was quite dangerous. He only got 1 week. You also have a look at there's another instance I mentioned as well. The other few years ago, we also had the Patrick Cripps with the Archie. Archie was concussed. That turned out he managed to get off with a lawyer clarity, which was
Crip,
wording.
Crip should have been
Um,
suspended.
um,
We
it should have
we
been
know.
suspended, because
Yeah,
obviously that's not a good look because you're just sort of teaching everyone you can bash people up in a marking contest otherwise. Um, then there's the other one I also mentioned that was that didn't get who was the one that I met who was the one I mentioned on said to you I think the other day actually if I find the message there was another one I mentioned in the thing to you. Where is it?
was it Pickett?
Uh,
I think it might have been Cosy Pickett.
I commented. Yes, it was a big. Might have been Pickett. No, it might have. Oh, Pickett has done a few things in the past. I wrote it down. Um, oh well, there's another one as well too that I had somewhere as well too. But that's right, Harris Andrews. That's right. So Harris Andrews ended up getting 3 weeks for putting his arm up. But then you look at some other players who got away with got nothing. But then you also see For example, Mitch, who was it? Not Mitch. The Adelaide guy got 3 weeks, and the Paul Curtis got 3 weeks for a tackle. So, um, some of the football acts that have been normal football acts have been a
Oh,
lot
Darcy
worse.
Holiday got
uh,
3 weeks for the tech. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. So whereas then people like then players who injure players and that get away and get nothing. So that's not the consistency. Like if they want to have consistency, then they need to actually like yes, stamp down on this one, Gallup, but then from this one, they need to make sure it's consistent for the whole board. So like if this is going to be 3 weeks, keep it 3 weeks for everyone. You can't just pick and choose a player to favor or because it's kind of like MROs, like a dartboard. Like you just throw a dart and you don't know what's going to happen. Like it could be like a 1 week one, could be 0, could be 3, could be 4. Like you need to like at least if you're going to stamp down on the head height, it needs to actually be consistent because you're not going to teach anyone not to do it again if someone's going to get away with it because I can get away with it but then another player might get 3 or 4 weeks because there might not be a big name player type thing. So like the Patrick Cripps type thing. So no,
yeah.
yeah,
Cripps should definitely be suspended. But back, I don't think, I don't think Foggy should have been suspended. But I understand why he was suspended because it's outcome driven, and also the lack of insurance. AFL can't get insurance for concussions anymore, so they're really trying to protect the head. Um, yeah, in my personal opinion, I don't agree with that. I don't see the Liam Baker one as should have been suspended because Rayner wasn't injured. I don't think it was excessive force. It was late. A fine 12 weeks, fair. I think a week's maybe slightly too much, but I understand how what precedent the AFL is trying to set. The AFL is trying to say Baker's in a similar position, just to not jump, don't fly for the ball. Rayner pretty much had the ball. Um, Yeah, I'd be interesting to get your umpire take on it and where it fits in the laws of the game.
well that one with the Baker, he got 1 week, whereas um Paul Curtis got 3 weeks for a tackle. So that's where it can be a bit murky as well too. Um, So it would come under the 22.2.2 in the laws of the game as well too. So there's a list there which you can see as well too, and obviously when off the ball as well too, because it was actually off the ball. It was like he got the tackle, he won the hole in the ball, but then he just continued on with it as well too, and the force that the head actually went to the ground as well too. So the head hit the
Yeah.
ground, but I don't think he came off. Did he? He wasn't concussed throughout the game, was he? Did he?
No.
He did. No,
If
so
he
he
was,
continued.
if
Yeah,
Mitch Georgiades was concussed, I could totally see this being 6 to 8 weeks. Like I'm
yeah,
not like because it's like there would be high impact, intentional, and careless. Like, but it's very intentional because it's off ball. It's high impact because he got concussed, and it's careless because there was no play on the ball, no care for player safety. But yeah, I just my views are completely different because there was no injury. But I know that's kind of a flawed system that I'm talking about. It's the system that we have.
yeah, yeah. Because it can also it can because we can't like base a free kick on what's going to happen with like an injury because like someone like you say someone could be injured, someone could not be injured because someone else could be exactly the same thing and he could be concussed and could be out for the rest of the game. So like we kind of need to make sure that we're protecting people at all costs because like obviously he's not even in the play, he's off the ball, which is even worse as well too because it's careless as well. Because you look at remember last year in the final when Cam Rayner was getting pushed off the ball and all that. Um,
Getting
then
pushed.
that's like he was getting pinched as well too, and a few other
Yeah.
things
Oh
throughout the
yeah. I
game.
was gonna say I think he was
So
getting a bit more than pushed.
yeah, which yeah, and then finally, like, because he knew the rules that you can't push someone off the ball. That's why, like, he was like he ended up falling over, and then the umpire saw it, and then that's why he got that 150-meter penalty. Which,
Oh,
um, so and then yeah, I think like as I say, um it was probably very out of character as I say from Gullett because I would not expect him to do that. Like I don't know if there's something that led up to it. Like obviously I wasn't on the field to hear what happened. Maybe he might have said something, but or maybe
He reckons it
Giorgis
was
might have said something. But
he's playing with a broken finger at the moment. Giorgiani's grabbed his broken finger with extreme force, and he didn't think it was an accident, so he was a bit upset. But I do think, yeah, I just think that like
yeah,
um, there can be stuff happening that you don't know about
yeah.
as fans.
And and that's the only thing I can think of is that maybe something must have led up to this because obviously like it's a bit out of character from Gallup to just go to a random person on the ground and do that. So something must have happened on the field beforehand. So um, unless Gallup can maybe sort of like talk a bit about what happened in the lead up, then they might be able to sort of like lessen it if there was something in the lead up. But obviously, yeah, yeah, that's what I would put in his defense as well too. So like, just talk about what would have happened in the lead up because, yeah, as I say, like it's definitely out of character. He hasn't had any issues in the past as well too. So he's got a good record. So and he's a young bloke, obviously. So obviously, sometimes maybe the like on the weekend, though, I haven't had to. The last few weekends, actually, I don't know what's going on. Ever since I had my birthday, I've had to like card about 4 people umpiring because people just lose their temper as well too. Like because out there, the emotions get a hold of them, and then they just like do something that they regret or do something that they don't think
Yeah,
at the time.
you are
And
playing
yeah,
a physical game, and obviously the AFL players are setting a precedent for community football, and it's these aren't acts that we want in our community.
was that sorry at the end? Sorry.
Oh, I said these aren't acts that we want in our community. We don't
Yeah,
want like we don't want kids punching each other. We don't want kids dumping each other into the ground. We don't want 20-year-olds doing that. Like we don't want it at any level. If you've got kids and like they're playing football, this is gonna and this stuff creeps into the grassroots game. It's going to discourage participation, and that eventually trickles up to the AFL because it's like the talent doesn't come through. Maybe Zach Bailey's mum tells him, "Nah, mate, I don't want you playing football anymore." Like it happens because it's quite a physical game. If people are hitting each other off
exactly.
ball, and yeah,
Exactly, because like um, a lot of the juniors, like, because I umpire from 12-year-olds all the way up to 80-year-olds, so I get to umpire past AFL players and also future players that coming up through the juniors up to AFL as well, and like a lot of them always base their game off watching football on the TV, watching the actual AFL stars and
yeah,
that. And if they're going to be doing this rubbish and that's what they like, what this instance as well too, like it's not a good look, and and it would just allow them to do the same thing, and then it just spirals out of control. Like so, that's why they need to actually, when they say they're going to protect the head, which at the start of the year, or last year they said they're going to bring that in, like they need to be consistent as well too, because um, you've seen even this year, last year, and the year before that, a lot of the instances that they do, as I say, it could be 0, it could be 4 weeks. Like it's not set in stone. What they should have is that, yeah, 3 weeks. And that's why I thought, yes, they need to make it at least 2 to 4 weeks for this one. Um, because as an umpire, we don't want to see that on the field. And I always say at the start of the game, every time, like when we do our to everyone, I always say, we're watching the head highs here, we're watching the back chat here, we're watching the high contacts and as well. So every time I say it, always high. So I always make sure that you're watching the high. So that way I pull it up if they and then half the time they sometimes you get them they back chat because they're saying, oh, this is what happens in the AFL, this is what happens in the AFL. Like they I'm like, well, no, you got to follow the rules, otherwise it's not safe, and you got to protect the player as well too. So um, yeah, it's a tricky one, and like when I find that when I'm watching the game as a Brisbane fan at the game as well too, I find that like yeah, it's good when Brisbane do the things, but if they do the wrong thing, then I got to realize, oh yeah, well as an umpire, like yes, they're gonna make a mistake, they're gonna do the wrong thing as well too, because we're all human, um, and like you say, we're all human. So yeah, you make a mistake, we just got to learn and move on, and a good way to move on is to learn. Oh yeah, I did the wrong thing. I'm not going to do this and this next time, and so um,
Yeah.
yeah. What were your thoughts?
Oh, yeah, I agree with you there. I was just the tribunal's still deliberating, and David Zeta's tweeted that like a few times now. So I was during you having a really serious talk about head knocks and all that in that, and I had a little bit of a laugh and a smirk, but that was solely to do with David Zeta saying
Yeah,
still deliberating, and then he's got in brackets, no, we're still actually like he's got like literally half an hour later, we're still going. Sorry.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was wondering because I was trying to say something serious. I was like, oh, he's laughing. What's he on about? Yeah, so that's what
That's
happened. Yeah,
he
yeah,
puts out some. I have to say he covers the tribunal really well. Puts out some funny tweets. Puts a bit
yeah,
of humour in it as well. So yeah, nothing to do with you, Ray.
yeah,
Sorry, mate.
yeah,
Yeah, okay. Did
yeah.
you read the rules of the rules of the game, like the law? Did you read that?
Yeah, so I wrote that out. I read that out. Yeah,
Okay,
so it'll be under the
okay.
22.2.2. Yeah, yeah,
Okay, and effectively, yeah, they're trying to say that it's yeah. Okay, I feel like we've covered this enough, and
yeah,
it's going
yeah,
on
yeah,
live, so it's like kind of drawing my interest back.
yeah.
What do you think of the team changes coming for the Carlton game?
Oh yes, Carlton game. Yeah, so those that were not sure, we're playing Carlton this week. I know a lot of Gallup stuff this week, but yeah, we are playing Carlton down in Melbourne. So um, yeah, obviously Gallup will probably come out, and then who do you reckon? Well, McLaughlin got 8 goals in the VFL. Oscar Allen's ready to go. Who do you reckon's going to come in for Gallup?
I don't reckon McLaughlin's going to be the straight swap for
Yeah,
Ty Gallup. A bit
yeah,
different. Maybe if he was playing the forward line, you could go a bit smaller. I think a lot of it depends on. It'd be interesting to see. I don't think they want to change the team much from the Carlton to Hawthorn game because the Hawthorn game is the Carlton game's a serious game, but the Hawthorn game's a big step up and a big. It's as it's going to be a finals like intensity. So
yeah. Because the Hawthorn game, I feel, will be like a finals in the mid-season because like it'd be because it's the biggest game because it'll be third and fourth on the line if that makes sense.
yeah, I do think that's why they'll want to stick with someone for both weeks. Um, Darcy Gardner isn't available yet. And he's got one more week till he comes back into the team, probably. Or maybe he sits out and plays a VFL game because it would be hard to chuck him back into that Hawthorn game. He can be a bit rusty at the start. I think Darren Joyce is a very reliable option, but if the Carlton forward line's small, I'm not 100% sold on them putting Darren Joyce in, but it still looks like the most it feels like the default option that you bring Darren Joyce in because it's tall for tall. I
And
don't
Bruce,
think they'll
reckon
take.
Bruce will be back. You reckon he'll be back?
Yeah, Bruce should be back. He's obviously had his baby now,
Yeah.
so he should be back for Jimmy Tunstall, which is unfortunate because Jimmy's been playing some really good football the last 2 weeks. I thought he really had moments in the game against the Eagles, and he was pretty good as well against the game against Port Adelaide. Um, Bruce is just really good at. Sometimes he can be quite strong at a contest, and he's a really good linking kick, so he can take a mark out in the wing, and then he's a really good ball user as well. Where he's probably got a slightly better footy brain, but I don't know, he can't bite off some of the kicks that Bruce can. Bruce can
Yeah.
yeah change angles, a 60-meter kick, and see. He's like a slightly worse version of Kadeem Coleman, but it's more ready made for the wing. So
And
Kadeem's like
it was
more of a
interesting. I
halfback and
was
doesn't
at
really have the tank. Sorry.
it was interesting at I was at the airport when the players came in and when the team got announced and Froggy was saying to us, "Oh, Bruce is out with having a baby with his partner," and then for some reason that had personal reasons, and then the whole chat was just like going off, like, "What's going on? What's happened? What's happened?" And everyone's like stressing out, like. And I don't know why it's interesting they put it as personal reasons. So it was it was interesting way to announce that he was out. So yeah.
Well, what can you write? Yeah, he's having a baby. You can't write
Yeah,
admitted.
yeah,
He probably would have been picked.
yeah,
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, Joyce goes into the back line, and Bruce comes into the team, and what do you think about Oscar Allen? Do you think that I don't know your thoughts, Reece?
Well, you would think that we need him for at least a Hawthorn game, but the thing is that he's coming back from injury. We don't want to get him injured again. Like he played in the VFL last week, so do you get him? Do you give him a bit of game time this week to get a bit of form back in, or do you bring him in for the Because I still think Hawthorn game's our main game that we need to have our full
I
best
think
team.
still
So
1 week at a time. I reckon you still like
yeah,
play the Carlton game and try to win the game.
yeah,
But yeah, I do feel like Oscar probably needs a bit of a run at it before finals. Um, I think it's a really hard one because Eric has the ability to get from contest to contest. Obviously, he's like an amazing runner. He's not great contested mark, but he's really good at crashing packs. Um, he's a pretty good field kick, not the best kick at goals. So he's always been there for us, really. I think Oscar's probably got a higher ceiling than Eric, but I'm still not sure that he can provide the contest to contest that Eric Hipwood can at the moment because he's only played 2 games in the VFL. Like Eric is an absolute freak with his top speed. Like he can run 100 meters in like just it's like a 10, 11 seconds. Like it's really fast. He's anaerobic
and he played
capacity.
down back, and he played down back against the Suns the other year, and he ended up getting a goal against his forward too that he was playing on.
Yeah, he could play down back. I don't think it's going to be. I think
Yeah,
Gareth Joyce is a
yeah,
really good option. I would like to see it as an experiment, but I would like to see it more at the start of the year when he was still recovering from his ACL, because I think as a like bailout kick, it would make us much better on offense because he could like spread and get up the field, and then he's going to have a smaller defender on him, or if he's going to have a bigger defender on him, a bigger forward on him because he would be playing in the back line. That forward's going to be absolutely done because he's going to have to keep up with Eric leading for like
yeah,
marks down the line. He was like, imagine if Mitch Laws had to play on Eric Hipwood, like
yeah,
at maybe Eric would have problems defending him, but then Mitch would not be able to go push high up on the wing with him. Obviously, Jack Gunston plays like deep in the goal square around like he's the deepest inside 50. It would create problems for quite a few teams. So yeah, I don't know. I would like to see it at some stage, but I think we saw the Gallup experiment because Hippard wasn't really ready, and then when he came back in the senior team, he didn't really have his touch, and it's hard. We saw Caden Coleman come back in, and he wasn't. He was really struggling defensively because he had so much time out of the game and his habits that kind of he's had lapsed, and it was he just kind of wasn't in touch with the game. Uh, I had a question. No, well, so yeah, we'll say that team selection's probably that, but my question
yeah.
was more like next year. Um, oh, sorry, we didn't answer. We didn't answer who was coming in for who was going out for Oscar. So you wouldn't change the team?
Well, like Chris said, it's always good to keep the winning team. However, there has to be a change, obviously, with Gallup. So there would definitely be at least one
Yeah,
change.
there'll be
Yeah,
Gallup and Bruce, but you'd
yeah.
leave Oscar out again.
It's hard because like you probably
You're choosing between
yeah.
Hipwood and Darcy Ford.
Well, maybe Darcy Falk could get a rest this week because Carlton actually, when you play them, they are pretty easy against in the ruck, if that makes sense. You've only got Pitt in there. Um, so like you could do Draper against Pitt in there, and then you can just have a backup ruckman here and there. Allen doesn't really do ruck too much, but at
Oh,
least
uh,
like
Allen
yeah,
definitely could. I've seen him a few times
yeah,
early days with the Eagles, but
yeah,
I'm not sure
yeah,
they're going to want to risk his foot because if he's
yeah,
constantly jumping
yeah,
because he's at a
yeah, because you
fraction of
don't,
his
yeah,
foot that's only pretty much
yeah,
just gotten better, it's probably going to
yeah,
come. He's probably going to have problems with it again if he's doing a lot of ruck work. Also, it's going
yeah.
to get someone's going to stand on it every 5 minutes.
Yeah, so
Um,
maybe,
yeah,
um, yeah, if Fort needs the rest, then maybe Allen can come in this week. That's probably the only way he probably would come in. You would think, because like, Um,
What about Logan Morris? We saw back.
oh yes, oh yes, of course. I forgot about that. Yeah, because Logan Morris looked pretty sore on the weekend, didn't he? He looked like
I reckon he had
yeah,
an injection at half time because he came out at half time and
yeah,
he was
yeah,
moving very well in the second
yeah,
half.
yeah. So
Uh,
maybe either Morris or four out for Allen this week, and then that way it gives him a bit of game time before the game the week after. So um,
in finals, do you reckon our best team is with the tools? Do you reckon it's Draper and Ford and Oscar and Logan Morris? Or do
yeah,
you
but then
reckon it's
Hit,
Oscar?
Hit would be have to be more down the ground though. Like I still have Hitwood in the team, but probably more down the ground. You would say, like
You can't play Hipwood on a wing right now. That's too quick to learn. They're running
yeah,
out of time, which is I think the main problem. I think it was early in the season. So
yeah, because there's only 4 weeks
yeah,
left, so it's not that long. Like yeah,
yeah. I reckon it's hard because they're paying Oscar 850 a
yeah,
year. So if you're paying someone that much money, you've got them to a club as a free agent.
yeah, and
You
he's an
probably want to
ex-captain as
go.
well too. So he's got the football smarts as well too. So yeah,
You're probably going to want to have him in the team. But then I feel like Darcy Fort offers probably more than Hipwood consistently, if that makes any sense. If Oscar can build out his like capacity to get to contest, I feel like you take Oscar over Hipwood at the moment. But then at long term, I think that it's better Morris, Hipwood, and Allen all on the forward line.
and do you
And
reckon?
I probably wouldn't have Darcy Fort in.
Yeah,
But yeah, I don't know. Do
because
you reckon Draper would be able to cope because obviously he's coming back from all sort of foot issue. He's played every game by the opening round game, but he's been sharing the ruck load with Darcy Ford, so he's only been playing like 60% game time. Obviously, if you drop, if you drop Darcy Ford, you're gonna have to increase his game load from like 60% game time to 80%, and that
yeah,
increases his risk of injury.
yeah. So unless you rest Draper 1 week, then you rest Fort the other week. That you can manage it that way somehow. But
Draper's a better ruckman than Ford.
yeah, yeah.
Draper's centre ball up stuff is like really impressive.
Yeah, because he can
Ford
actually
throughout the
jump.
ground pretty good.
Oh, yeah. He can jump and yeah.
That's a nice way of saying Darcy Ford can't jump.
No, no. Well, like he's like the reason why Chris got Sam Draper to the club is because of the new ruck rules that's changed this year, and like you need that ruck that
Yeah.
can jump quite well. So I feels that like the new rules suit him quite well. That's what I meant to say, but yeah.
All right. We'll probably finish it off with I had a question
Yes.
about like the lineup next year. Obviously, I think Lockie Neal's goalie, he's obviously provided like great service to the Brisbane Lions. But Will McLaughlin did kick 8 goals in the reserves last week. He struggled with his body at times. He has had like repeated quad injuries this year and last year, which kept him out of the reserves for an extended period. When he gets it together, he reminds me a lot of like Zach Bailey in like 2018 when he was playing in that NEFL team that won the grand final and didn't lose a game.
Oh,
Um,
actually, that NEFL, shout out to that NEFL, that very last NEFL game. I was at that game too, in 2019.
was it?
It was quite a good game. They played Southport, and after losing the two finals, I went there and caught up with Luke Hodge there, and it was a great win. Brisbane Lions smashed Southport, and to hear the song there, and yeah, so Zach Bailey was in the NEFL back then, yeah.
And Reece Matheson and Brandon Starcevich, and yeah, they had a pretty good team. But he reminds me of kind of where Zach Bailey was then. I don't think we're that far away of seeing like some Will McLaughlin, Zach Bailey 2021 in that final series against the Western Bulldogs where Bailey Smith kicked that winning goal, but Zach Bailey was absolutely amazing that year because Cam Rayner wasn't in the team and he was picking up a lot of Cam Rayner's half forward minutes and kind of midfield stuff and wing stuff. Um, yeah, do you think next year with Lockie Neal going out of the side, do you reckon they do a like for like replacement and put Dan Hannibal in the team, and they move Levi Ashcroft and Mix. They'll move Levi Ashcroft, give him some minutes in the midfield, some of Lockie Hill's minutes, and then they'll give Zach Bailey some of Lockie Hill's minutes in the midfield as well. So split between those two. And then it feels like you're trying to get Dan Annable to play half forward, and if someone gets injured, you can put Dan Annable in the middle during game. Or do you think that it's probably better that Will McLaughlin actually? I would love to see Will McLaughlin stick around. Let's say we've got Will McLaughlin next year. Do you think it's better to have Will McLaughlin at half forward and Will McLaughlin replaces effectively Levi Ashcroft? So Levi Ashcroft's still in the team, but he's replacing that Levi Ashcroft Zach Bailey role.
Yeah, because Levi Ashcroft this year, he sort of had to play to positions where he's not normally has played, and like he said that he's sort of had to learn a few new positions. But like if he can get that time back in the midfield, which he wants as well too, which would be handy for him. And McLaughlin, especially getting the 8 goals in the VFL, like it shows that he can play that position as well quite well in the VFL. It would just depend on how old is Darcy Fort now? Because I'm
Darcy Fort's like 32, 33 years old.
because
But Henry
you know,
Smith's the long-term replacement for Darcy Fort. He's
which
probably
one?
better
Sorry.
suited to a Henry Smith. He's probably better
Yeah,
suited to a. And Adelaide were after Henry Smith pretty hard last year and this year, so we're
yeah,
lucky he stayed. It's pretty much because he had problems with his body. He stayed because Adelaide's interest dropped away because of that. Henry Smith we saw last year in that Collingwood game is a better. He's a better forward than Darcy Fort or probably Sam Draper are, and he's slightly worse ruckman than Darcy Fort, but he's still a pretty good serviceable ruckman.
because I was thinking like Darcy Fort might be finishing soon as well too. Because I was just working out players who may be finishing. Who do you see anyone sort of like retiring that may also open up some more positions as well too? Or,
Yeah, Zorko obviously at some stage Touchwood he sticks around. Obviously a club legend. Yeah, just an absolute legend. Probably Hall of Famer as well. But yeah, I think Neil and then to me the one that sticks out is have to be Zorko. Uh, yeah, I don't think there's much else besides that. Um, so yeah, I think that Will McLaughlin's pretty important. I think so. Back to my question: do you think that Will McLaughlin's better suited than Dan Annable? Who would next year? Who are you taking? Saying Lockie Neal leaves. Who are you putting into the team? Or are you going Jimmy Tunstall? You can do.
oh, maybe. Well, we could do like a. Why don't we do what they normally do on the other TV show? You know, they do the bench cut and play. So who?
But
So
what? We
if
don't
you
need to cut any of them.
so so who would you bench cut and play out of Tunstall, McLaughlin, and Annabelle?
Oh, I feel really bad. I'm
Yeah,
probably playing Will McLaughlin because I think he's
yeah,
got pretty high upside. He'll learn stuff in a year of playing AFL football. I'm benching Dan Annable because he's going to be around for a long time. He's a really impressive
yeah,
player. And since he's been back in the VFL team because he had to have that shoulder reconstruction early on the piece, he's really held down that VFL midfield and kept us competitive in games and helped us win a few games. And that's been against like senior experienced AFL bodies. And I love Jimmy Tunstall very much, but you've done me a fortune
yeah,
here. I would
yeah,
probably cut Tunstall. They've given him
yeah.
a contract for another 2 years. He's a lovely guy from Bunbury. Yeah,
He's a WA lad
nothing
too. We've
against
got to
him.
stick up for our WA people. Yeah.
Race, who are you? What are you doing with it? What are you doing? The question back
so
at you. What would you do?
so I would play McLaughlin. I would bench Tunstall. And I'll cut Annabelle.
How many players do you
So
have? Well, six pick in last year's draft.
I know. Well, like, well, well. Uh, no, you just want me to cut Tunstall as well too. So,
No, 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 you can't do that though. It's stiff, so I understand.
yeah. Yeah,
All
and
right.
it's a hard because they're all three young players and they all could have great potential. It's going to be hard to play three in. It's hard to have three in two positions, so you have to.
Yeah, I don't know. I
Yeah,
feel that Jimmy's got the lowest potential out of those three. I feel
yeah,
like Dan Annabelle's floor is probably the highest. I feel like McLaughlin's ceiling's the highest, but I feel like McLaughlin's floor is probably the lowest. And I feel like, but that's also position dependent. Because if you're playing midfield wing, you're seeing more of the ball. If you're playing forward pocket, you some days you're not going to get the ball, especially if you're being belted or something like that. But some days the ball's just not going to come to you. Like we've seen Rayner just like kind of have games where he's amazing and games where he's not. It's just some days he's not getting the ball. Some days they're not seeing him on a lead. It's unfortunate,
yeah.
but it's the position.
And game time also improves as well too, because like before last few weeks, I would have definitely cut Tunstall, but the last few weeks he's actually played quite well in the games as well too. He's actually like held up his spot as well too. So that's what sort of like swayed me. Oh, okay, yeah, he could probably be on the bench in that. So, um, like obviously Annabelle's been out injured. And then obviously we had McLaughlin now got 8 goals in the VFL. Like if they get more game time in the main squad, then you'll see the improvement as well too. So um, yeah, so that's a great question though, Alec. As
I wouldn't be surprised if Will McLaughlin kicked another 7 or 8 goals in the next few games in the VFL. He's a really good player.
yeah, yeah. Also, whereabouts can we find you? Do you have like some social media or something like that,
No,
or
mate.
like
I've got Facebook, but no need to follow me on Facebook. Yeah, you can't really find me anywhere.
and
I don't really need to be seen. I'm just yeah, a bit
uh,
translucent.
the highlight the members function was pretty cool too because like Andrew came up to me said hey how are you and then next minute you come over had a chat and you go oh I'm the Alec that was asking you questions on the podcast the week before so that was actually pretty cool how you two saw each other and I thought that was pretty awesome as well too.
Yeah,
That's a
Andrew's always been good. So yeah, I don't know. I think we're lucky to have a chairman which is that connected with the fans that would do the podcast with you. I think a lot of AFL chairmen wouldn't have done it. I'm not trying to offend you in any way, but yeah,
yeah
I think we're really lucky that Brisbane are a very open club and some of the access we get to stuff, like players and all that as well, open trainings. Yeah, I don't know, just even like after grand finals, before grand finals, I don't. I think there's a lot of clubs that aren't like that. I've spent a bit of time around the Eagles. I'm not trying to say anything bad about the Eagles, but I just never had the same feel. Obviously, like we were struggling for fans and members and all that at one point, struggling financially. So they probably needed to be that way, and it
yeah
seems like it's just stuck with them a bit. Where the Eagles never really had that problem, obviously, and I don't know. I feel like your bigger clubs are more like corporate, like, nah, it's all good. No
yeah
access to the players, no access to this, no access to that. Which I don't know, it's fine. Uh, everyone
because you
they can all do what they want.
Because I remember on the boat a few years ago when we also had Greg Swan on the boat, there was a first supporter actually brought up a comment and said he said he actually appreciated Brisbane Lions because like the CEO actually came on board to the boat, and then obviously we've had the chairman on the podcast as well too. So like you say that a lot of other clubs, like you say, may not have those people that would do that for the fans and for the
Yeah,
members and stuff like that. So it's good to see how they're well, and they're also at the members function how they listen to what's going right, what's going wrong, or maybe what they need to work on. That so like actually listen to the fans, and that's what makes a football club because the culture and the family culture actually builds them up. Because you've seen we've gone from 40,000 to now we've got 77,000 members, and we've grown double the amount of members within the last 5 6 years. So um,
mate. I remember when we were at 11,000 members.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
you remember when there was 100 people in the WA Lions chat? Like,
yeah.
I don't know. Like,
Yeah,
there's like, isn't
on
there
the
like a
page
thousand
there,
people
yeah.
that follow your page now?
And now we've got like about 1.3, 1.4 thousand, and we've got the Lions staff now following us on the page. We've got like the past players on the page. We've got we've even got some other players like other AFL players like Tom Mitchell, and they also follow us as well too. So it's actually grown a bit now, which is good to see. And even like when we're at the Subiaco days and that, like I kind of feel embarrassed because when we had to get people to do the banner, we didn't even have enough Brisbane Lions fans to do the banner. So we've had to um,
Get
hire
people's fans
people
and chuck them,
from
chuck
other
jerseys
fans to
over it.
try and join the banner. Yeah, because we had barely anyone there. Like, and then now, like you look at it, they've opened the training up, and you see how many people there is, and the fans are that block we had the other night against the West Coast was huge compared to what we've had in the past. So
Yeah,
definitely
I
grown.
think winning helps, Reece. I think winning helps with like getting more fans and getting
Yeah,
the younger generation involved with the club. There's going to be an influx of like people which are kind of like between like 10 and 18, I reckon, in the next like
yeah,
5, 10 years that we see coming to like um, just coming to more games and all that from Perth because I think they've picked up a lot of fans in the successful period, which is good because obviously you need the fans to if you don't have members, you don't have fans, there's no club because yeah, just financially doesn't work.
and also I was just chatting with the staff today. If hypothetically that obviously Freo probably won't lose top spot, but hypothetically if Brisbane finish fourth, they will play here, and if you're a member, you'll get access to finals tickets
Yeah,
before the public too. So
yeah,
it was just a hypothetical question. So if we beat Hawthorn, possibly finish third. If we lose to Hawthorn, then possibly finish fourth, and then they'll be playing back here in Perth.
yeah. I would prefer them to win all their games, but there's still a possibility that they don't finish fourth. Um, so yeah, I'd prefer them to finish third, and then if they finish third, I'd prefer them to win. So don't really want Brisbane to come here and play a prelim. Just because if they win, the travel will bite them in the back half of the grand final. Um, so I prefer them to play Fremantle in the first week, and yeah, I don't know. We'll see. You can't really be talking about this stuff round 20, mate. We're not locks for anything
Yeah,
yet.
yeah,
Who knows? Touch
yeah,
wood. There's a normal kind of ending to the season, which we haven't seen as Lions fans. It feels that
yeah,
2024 ending was pretty dramatic. And then obviously last year we had so many injuries late. Like we looked about set going into finals, and we had so many injuries, and then everyone wrote us off again. Yeah, so hopefully it's normal. It's a normal
yeah,
ending, as normal as it could be. Hopefully, it's not a Brisbane Lions ending to the season. Touch wood.
yeah,
But yeah, yeah.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah, but yeah, no, that I think that was a good prediction. We'll find out what happens in the next month. But um, make sure you check on Brisbane Lions WA supporters group, which is on the Facebook there as well too. Make sure you give Aleck a follow on the Facebook. As I say, he doesn't have too much social media, but he'll be out and about. Also, making sure uh, tune in next week as well too for our next podcast as well to the Roaring Lion. Do you have anything else to finish off with?
Nah, thanks for having me, Reece. And yeah, tune in next week.
Awesome, good work. Bring on Carlton and great discussions today as well too. You can check out the replay once it's all uploaded as well too. Go Lions.